Okay, I need to know how many of y'all actually knew about this because I didn't. You know the phrase the real McCoy? Like, I don't want the fake one, I want the real McCoy. McCoy was a black man, an actual person. His name was Elijah McCoy. And I don't know why I never thought about where that phrase came from. I think I just assumed it was one of those things that people had just been saying forever. But no, there's a whole man back there. And his story is fascinating. Elijah McCoy was born in Canada in 1844. His parents had escaped slavery in Kentucky, and somehow when Elijah was 15 years old, they managed to send their son all the way to Scotland to study mechanical engineering, which, just that part, that's a story all by itself. But Elijah finishes his training, and he comes back to North America ready to work as an engineer. But nobody will hire him. And you know why. He's qualified, he's trained. But that doesn't matter because he's black. So he takes a job with the railroad as a fireman and an oiler. So this is the crazy part to me, right? You have a mechanical engineer working on your railroad. You refuse to employ him as a mechanical engineer, but then you put him around your machinery all day. What did you think was going to happen? Part of McCoy's job involved keeping steam engines lubricated. And at the time, this was a pain, okay? The machinery had to be stopped so the workers could manually oil all the moving parts. And Elijah, being the engineer that they refused to hire as an engineer, starts working on the problem. He develops an automatic lubricator. Basically, his system could keep parts of the machine lubricated while it was still running. He patents it in 1872. And he keeps tinkering with it because he's an engineer. That's what they do. He keeps improving it. He keeps inventing. And this man eventually ends up with dozens of patents. Again, the engineer that they wouldn't hire. And this is how he supposedly got the phrase. McCoy's lubricators developed a reputation for working really well. So naturally, other versions started popping up. But the story goes that those copies weren't as reliable. And the people buying it got tired of figuring that out the hard way. So they started asking for the real McCoy. As in, no, not the version that's like McCoy's. I want McCoy's. So how did his name end up in all our houses? Because of him. That's what happened. The invention itself isn't something that most of us think about anymore. But his name, we kept that. Generations of people have used this black man's name to mean, is it authentic? Is it legitimate? Is it actually the good one? And half of us had no idea there was an Elijah McCoy. I certainly didn't. And I keep going back to the beginning of his story, because they wouldn't hire him as an engineer. That's what gets me. This man traveled across an ocean to learn how to do his job, came back qualified to do this job, and was told no. So he took the job he could get, and then apparently became so good at engineering that people started using his last name to make sure that they weren't getting somebody else's work. I mean, come on. You won't give the man the job. But 150 years later, we're still using his name to ask if something is the good version. Is it the real McCoy? Apparently, there really was one. Say his name. Elijah McCoy.
They stole a black man's name for a white TV show and never told you where it really came from. You've heard the phrase, the real McCoy. Most folks think of that 1960s white sitcom. But the truth, it started with a black genius whose story America buried. Elijah McCoy was born in 1844 to formerly enslaved parents who fled Kentucky through the Underground Railroad. He studied engineering in Scotland, but when he came home, no company would hire a black engineer, so he worked as a railroad fireman and quietly changed the entire industry. McCoy invented a self-lubricating device that kept trains running smoothly without stopping. His invention was so effective that engineers demanded, "Give me the real McCoy," meaning accept no imitation. But here's the gut punch: white-owned companies copied his design, made millions, and erased his name. While families watched the real McCoys on TV, the real McCoy, Elijah McCoy, was forgotten. Why does America celebrate the imitators, but bury the originators? Comment McCoy if you refuse to let his story stay hidden. Share and follow for more untold black truths they never taught you.
Now, every time you say that's the real McCoy, you might be shouting out the black genius who changed trains, factories, and history. And most people don't even know his name. Today, I'm going to tell you about a man that is so cold. How cold is he, Sakai? So cold that engineers had to ask for him by name. Now, this is the original, the real Elijah McCoy. And the truth hits so fucking different. And after today, make sure that you know who had put you on. Elijah McCoy was born May 2nd, 1844, in Colchester, Canada. His parents, George and Mildred McCoy, was formerly enslaved people who escaped the Underground Railroad. Elijah was not born in comfort. He was born into courage. And get this, a 15-year-old. A 15-year-old. His family sent him to Scotland, not for sightseeing, not to chill, to study mechanical engineering. Now question, what the fuck were you doing at the age of 15? Probably not in fucking Scotland. That's all I know. He came back certified, trained, and ready. Then America said, cool resume. How about you go shovel some coal? The fucking audacity. Because even with European education, he could not get hired as an engineer. That's like you being the best basketball player of all time, and he tell you to go ahead wash them dishes. The dishes. So he worked as a fireman and an oiler on a train. Translation, he was cleaning machines that he already knew that he could outsmart. Back then, trains had a problem. They had to stop all the time just to get oiled. And Elijah looked at it like, yeah, that's dumb as fuck. So in 1872, he had patented the automatic lubricator. And that was for steam engine, which distributed oil while the engine was running. That invention was the key to his legacy and tied to why people call him the real McCoy. And with that invention, it was no stops, less damage, more speed, more millions. Railroads went crazy as fuck over. By the 1890s, almost every railroad in North America was using the McCoy system. But wait, there's more. Now listen close. It's the heart of the story. Once McCoy invention got popular, everybody started copying. Cheap versions, weak parts, fake quality. So engineers start asking this one question. So, does this fit with the McCoy system? Not a McCoy, the McCoy. This theory is mentioned in his biography at the National Inventors Hall of Fame. But historians are honest. The phrase did exist before him. Some say that it comes from Scotland. Some say boxing. Some say whiskey. But by 1966, Ebony magazine ran an ad and said, the most famous legacy, McCoy, left his country with his name. At that point, the culture spoken. Ain't no fucking takebacks. But Elijah McCoy did not stop with trains. He held over 50 patents, lubricators, ironing boards, lawn sprinklers. You welcome. High temperature system. If inventions were rings, he will be the 7th ring. Booker T. Washington said he had way more invention patents than any black inventors of his time. And that says a lot. But here's the painful part. Elijah McCoy barely had the money to mass produce his own invention. So he had to sell patents, give up rights, let other people get rich. In 1920, near the end of his life, he finally started his own company. Late, but proud. Elijah passed away 1929. His name kept moving. Historic markers, streets, museums, National Inventors Hall of Fame, U.S. Patent Office named after him. A Google Doodle. And every time somebody says that's the real McCoy, they keeping him alive even when they don't know it. And let me say this to you real clear. Respect was not handed to him. He engineered it. He did not ask for validation. He built proof. He didn't chase fame. He created standards. So whether the phrase started with him or it got legendary because of him, one thing is undeniable. When it comes to excellence, precise integrity, Elijah McCoy was the real thing. That's Black history. That's American history. That's world history. Put some respect on his fucking name. And if you watch to the end of the video, you a real one. Put that fire emoji or that train emoji. And remember, it is up to us to keep the legacies alive. It's good for us to be the ones to tell these stories. That's the reason why history is so important. Now tomorrow, you definitely don't want to miss the next one.
So guys, the purpose of this video is to celebrate the real McCoy, to celebrate Black genuity, vigor, tenacity, resilience, even in the face of little or nothing. The invention that this man brought that has changed the narrative and the patterns of modern civilization. And even though he's black, many times we don't get to celebrate our own. We don't get to celebrate the beautiful heritage that God has given us as black people, or we have contributed to the American society. And that is the intention of this video. It's not to stir up racial profile or hatred. No, it is to talk about the facts that America is what it is because the black community has paid a tremendous price in the areas of invention and creativity. And you cannot take that away from the black community. If you're coming across my YouTube channel, you're welcome. Please do hit that subscription, hit that notification button if you like what we do. Returning subscribers, thank you so much. You're the reason why we do what we do. I want to know what your thoughts are, what your opinions are in the comment section. As we get ready for our next video, we celebrate Elijah McCoy. So anytime you hear that the real McCoy, know that it is there because someone made it what it is. God bless all black folks.